I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Today on CityCast Philly, it's our weekly politics episode. Now, imagine this. You wake up and you walk to where you thought your car was, only to your surprise, it's gone. Your car is gone. Did someone steal your car? In Philly, maybe not. You could have just gotten a courtesy tow. Bill Bender, my guest today, has been covering this issue for years for the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's been looking into why drivers can't find their cars and what role the city plays in all of this. It's Wednesday, March 27th. I'm Trina Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Bill, you wake up and you walk to your car and it's gone. Please explain what courtesy towing is.
I've been writing about this for a few years now, and some of my editors actually don't understand it.
It's still debate of like what
this
is?
It's at the same time, it's very simple, but it's also extremely confusing. So the gist of it is that you park in your regular parking space on street parking where you have a permit in your neighborhood. And for whatever reason, the city might have to make that a temporary no parking zone. So it could be for utility work or a parade, a special event. So they put up the temporary no parking signs, and you might not know about that because you had parked it. You haven't gone back to the car in a few days, which is pretty normal. And someone has to move the car. So that's where all the problems come in. You go back, your car's not there. It could be right around the corner, or it could be in another neighborhood altogether. Some people have never found their cars.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, like, there is no courtesy notice happening, right? This is not polite.
It's not polite. No, it's pretty outrageous. I mean, the temporary no parking signs do go up, so there is some notice. Right. But if you leave your car there for a few days, you're not going to see the sign.
And it's going to ruin your day.
It's going to ruin. I mean, people have reported cars stolen. They filed insurance claims. They have walked around for days, weeks, months. I mean, it's something that, in my experience, people don't really understand it until it happens to them. Then
it's
like
this
then
panic
they get it.
feeling. But why do they call it courtesy? Is that a joke?
It's a name that I don't know where it started. That's kind of the funniest part about it, because obviously it's not very courteous. But I think the gist of it is that since you didn't really do anything wrong, the city's going to be courteous enough to move your car for you.
But just not tell you where they put it.
Yeah, it's, the car can get moved, and it's kind of a city program. They technically call it relocation towing, I think. Mm-hmm. But some people, when they call the police department, when they call the parking authority, 911, streets department, no one in any city department has any idea where your car is, or sometimes even who towed it.
But aren't there records that, hey, this road work is going to be done. We need crews at this particular street, at this particular site. So why don't they have records to better figure out or help drivers figure out where they're going to put their car if they need to tow it?
That's actually what I spend a lot of time trying to figure out, because there are records of the event or road work or whatever's being done. And there is a record of the temporary no parking zone sign being issued by the city. So you would think that the city would be able to keep track of where the cars are moved to. And I didn't understand exactly how this worked when I started looking into it a few years ago, but the car can be moved by the police department, by the parking authority, or by private towing companies. Mm. And I thought it was a city problem where, police or the parking authority just weren't keeping track of where they moved the cars. But it turned out after a couple of years, actually, of just trying to understand this, that a lot of the problems come in with the private towing companies. So if this gets confusing, just stop me, because this is the real crux of it.
Right.
So say you're building a house and you need to clear half the block. So you could go to the streets department, for example, and the construction company would get the temporary no parking passes, and they could hang them up where they need the parking. But if the cars are still there, it's oftentimes up to the construction company to move the cars.
So then they hire the private towing company.
So they might call police to come write a ticket. Then police will leave. Then the construction company hires a private towing company. They take your car, and then they're immediately supposed to tell police where they took your car. So when you go there and your car's not there, you can call police and they'll say, they'll tell you where it is. The problem is the towing companies will take the car, leave it somewhere, and then just not do anything. And the problem gets compounded when they move your car from the original place to a no parking zone. Then the parking authority comes along and they don't know that you didn't park in the illegal spot. And then tickets start piling up. You can get towed again by the parking authority, and then it's up to you to prove to the parking authority that you didn't park somewhere. And that's not easy.
Or your car can get impounded.
Yeah, you can have your car impounded by the parking authority after it's been courtesy towed. And then you have to pay, it can be hundreds of dollars up to $1,000 to get your car off of the parking authority lot if it sits there long enough. And actually, they can start the process to auction off your car in a pretty short amount of time. That happened to one person that I wrote about. He actually had to pay about $950 to get his car back from the parking authority after it was courtesy towed into a loading zone, and then towed again by the parking authority because they didn't know it had been courtesy towed the first time.
Oh my gosh. What other horror stories have you heard?
People that have never found their cars that just gave up.
Never found their car?
Yeah, they just never saw them again. There's been people who, and this is pretty common, that you would find the car missing, go to police, they don't know where it is. So they'll say, just report it stolen to kind of heighten the search, I guess. So they report it stolen. They later find it, say a couple of weeks later, and then months down the line, they're driving out of state and they get pulled over for driving their own car, which had still been reported stolen by Philadelphia police, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's pretty...
What in the world?
Yeah, it's pretty scary because you can understand how people would be freaked out not knowing what's going on when police are, approaching their car with, hands on their guns because they think you're driving a stolen vehicle. It can actually become a potentially dangerous situation.
Can you explain the story about how even the film crew for Adam Sandler's Hustle was connected to courtesy towing?
Yeah, that was one of many examples. But in that case, the way I understand it, the film crew hired a towing company to move some cars off of South Street, I believe it was. And the company that was hired towed the cars to a shopping center parking lot, which was patrolled by another towing company. So after they towed the cars off the legal spot to make room for the film, they left it in an illegal spot. Police then came along, ticketed them for parking illegally, and then the other towing company that patrolled the parking lot towed the cars again to Southwest Philly, and then the drivers had to haggle with that towing company to get their car back. And that didn't go well because the towing company doesn't know that you didn't park there in the parking lot. It gives me a headache. I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it's a wacky practice, but there's some relief. We'll talk more about that after this break.
This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
Hear that? It's SpringFest savings calling your name. Only at Lowe's. Right now, get a free Select Ego 56-volt battery when you buy a Select Ego trimmer, blower, or mower. Plus, get your choice of any 2 bags of Miracle Grow organic soil mix for only $16. Shop these can't-miss deals in-store or online today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/2. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Excludes Hawaii.
Okay, Bill. People are suing over this. There's 2 class action lawsuits, but I'm trying to figure out who are they actually suing, because there's so many players in this weird game.
Yeah,
finding your car after a courtesy tow.
Yeah, the drivers. It's kind of interesting because the drivers are suing the city, and initially the city tried to make the case go away by offering settlements to a couple drivers. So they offered people $15,000 each to drop the case. And that kind of backfired because 2 of the people took the $15,000 and then the other plaintiffs didn't. So the case continued after the city paid out $30,000. And then what's happened since then is more and more people have been joining these. It's actually 2 class action cases that are probably going to be combined, but like more and more plaintiffs are being added. And they're suing the city, and the city's response now is basically to say that they're not responsible because they claimed that they didn't move the cars. So they're saying you can't sue us because we didn't cause the harm.
So would drivers then be suing PPA, or they have to find whatever private tow company towed their car?
Well, I think they're going to keep trying to go after the city. And the way I understand it, the drivers are arguing that even though it might not have been a city tow truck that moved the car, that the city is enabling this messed up process to continue. So even if it's a private towing company that came in and moved your car, the only reason they have the authority to do that is because the city is allowing this to go on. So ultimately, it's something that the plaintiffs' attorneys argue is a city problem, city sanctioned.
In a recent article, you wrote that city government is gaslighting people on this issue. What do you mean by that?
I've been trying to get someone in Philadelphia government to talk about this for 5 years, and no one will. No one will own the problem, and no one will really even acknowledge that it's happening. And in the lawsuits, the response is generally, it's not us, or it's not that bad, or how do you know we even did it? It's kind of just like, go away, don't make a big deal about this, like don't be hysterical because your car got towed. It's a little bit disingenuous because everyone knows what's going on. They kind of just don't want to fix it.
Who do we blame for this?
It's kind of tough because it crosses over into a lot of city departments. It can involve the police department. It can involve the parking authority. It can involve the appeals agency, the kind of sister agency to the parking authority, which is called the Bureau of Administrative Adjudication, which is a great name for an agency. That's who you appeal to if you rack up all these tickets after your car got towed. And it can involve the court system because if you fail at that first level appeal, then you go to the courts, and people have taken it all the way up before a judge, and the judge says, sorry, you still owe $800 or whatever. So it just crosses over, and the streets department is involved too. So it crosses over into a lot of city departments, and I think that's one of the reasons why no one has done much to fix this, because it's not one person's problem. And yeah, for years, no one on city council really made much noise about it either, which I found a little bit surprising. But in recent months, one council member, Jeffrey Young, has proposed holding hearings on this, which were initially scheduled for last time I was told, but I haven't heard anything since. So hopefully that hasn't fallen through the cracks again, because I still get emails, calls pretty much every week, every other week about this. I mean, it's never ending. And it seems like someone needs to step up and do something about it. Obviously, I can't write about it every single week, but I kind of just put it in a file and use it to when sort of bigger stories come along. I feel really bad for a lot of these drivers because sometimes they're really at the end of the rope and they're really upset. And sometimes there's just nothing I could do for them. So it's a little frustrating.
And people need their cars.
Yeah, I mean, people need to
around.
get to work. They need childcare. I mean, for all kinds of reasons. You can't, people are losing money if they have to take off, for an entire day and walk around the neighborhood in circles looking for their car, let alone if they can't find it for, an extended period of time.
Does this happen in other cities? And if so, what do those cities do?
I looked into how other cities deal with this, and they basically do a much better job. Chicago, for instance, has a database that you could search if your car gets towed, and you just go and get your car. It has the new location where it was towed to, and places like Arizona have just a database of towed cars. So it seems like in most other places, there's an agreement that you don't want to just move cars and drop them off anywhere in the city. But in Philly, that's kind of how we do it.
Bill, have you ever been courtesy towed?
No. And I've heard from several people who now put the Apple
AirTags.
AirTags in their cars.
I've heard that too.
Is very smart, and I should have thought of that. But I would definitely recommend that. A couple of my colleagues actually do that because, you can get hit with hundreds of dollars in fines for parking legally, and there's often little you can do about it. So, that's a smart move.
Well, Bill, speaking of AirTags, you had a story last year about some tracking software that the city was trying to develop.
Yeah, the mayor actually took, for the first time that I was aware of, she inserted some money in the city budget last year at the request of the police department, I believe, to create a database that would track some of the cars that are towed. The problem is that would only cover cars that are towed by the Philadelphia Police Department. So that wouldn't cover the situation where, Joe's construction company hires Jane's towing company and the city isn't involved in that. So it's a step in the right direction, but it would kind of just clean up the problem a little bit when it's in the hands of the police department, which in my understanding isn't really the crux of the problem, but at least it's something. It shows that they're taking some action.
When will we hear more about this class action lawsuit?
Recently, the judge has issued a couple rulings basically saying that it can move forward. So the city had filed its preliminary attempts to have it dismissed, and it's dragged on for a few years. But the judge who's handling both of the cases, they're similar cases. The judge, it's pretty clear, has spent a good amount of time trying to understand this, which I can kind of relate to because it's a bit of a slog to understand all the details of it. But it seems like the judge is really taking it seriously and has basically said, no, the city's explanation that just because it didn't tow the cars, that it's not responsible, that's not going to fly. And the judge has said the case can move forward. So now they might get into, more depositions or just procedural stuff, and then they'll be seeking to ask the judge to have it certified as a class. In that case, it can start to get really expensive, and you would think that the city would be looking to settle it, head it off in some way before it gets into, an actual trial.
Bill Bender, investigative reporter at the Philadelphia Inquirer. Thanks for breaking this all down for us on CityCast Philly.
No problem. Thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Let us know if you've ever gotten a courtesy tow and how did you find your car? If you did, and if not, let us know that too. You can send us a text at 215-259-8170. Share this episode with your neighbor, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.